Hey, and welcome to the Faith and Life podcast. My name is Mike Weaver. I'm pastor at St. Luke Lutheran Church, and Greg Osborne, who's here, he's doing the behind-the-scenes stuff, but also sometimes he joins us in these conversations about faith and life. And today, we have a great conversation with Bob Russo. And he's here to talk about an experience he had when he was between jobs. But before we get there, Bob, let me just say this. I've known you for a few years. And I appreciate your sense of humor and your laugh and just everything you bring to here, the church, and just life from what I've experienced from you. So I really appreciate you and appreciate you being here. So it's great.
Thank you very much. I was on the early call committee and when we were looking for an associate. So I feel like I've known you a really long time. It's really only been just a couple of years, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
on
crazy.
Years, yeah.
And you and Darcy and we've become good friends, just hanging out. And we've been on. People don't know we were on a bowling team together.
That's right,
St. Luke bowling team, the Holy Rollers.
Holy Rollers,
and we did pretty well.
We did,
considering we have no talent and used lane balls, so we did pretty well. So no, I really enjoyed working with you and having you be my pastor.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. And what people don't know is what you and I know is that we both share a history of radio.
Yes.
That we were both on AM radio back in the day.
Yeah. I
was at WFOB, AM 1430, Fostoria, Bowling Green.
And
it was 7 o'clock.
And I was, you're in tune with 1340 WENT, Gloversville, Johnstown, New York.
There it is. And it's a fun job. So if anybody's ever looking for a job and you think, man, should I get into radio? Well, radio today, but whatever. Right. It's a really, really fun job.
So,
yeah. Hey, so one of the conversations that you and I have had over the years is that you shared with me a story about when you were between jobs. It was, I don't know how many years ago it was.
About 17.
17 years ago. Yeah. And so, and you started volunteering at Faith Mission, and it really changed maybe everything, but certainly a lot of things for you.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to have other people hear that story because it's a really inspiring story, and I've never forgot it. So tell us more about what that is.
Well, it's funny because I had no idea that it was anything other than something to do, but it really did. It really did change my heart. I mean, that's kind of the best way to describe it. I was in retail for many years and planning and allocation department. I was honestly well regarded and well paid, and I was doing really well. And I got promoted a number of times. I was in Connecticut, and then from Connecticut, I was hired by the Limited and came over to Limited, and then DSW hired me away, and it was just this really kind of upward trajectory, and I was doing well, and I liked what I was doing. I liked the people I was working with, and as far as I knew, everybody liked me, and everything was great. And literally one day, the day before Thanksgiving, probably, well, I guess it's been about 18 years ago. Gosh, I lost track. They called me and they said, "Thanks so much. Your services are no longer needed, and pack up and leave." It was literally pretty much that the day before Thanksgiving. And it was just like what? Okay. So I was scheduled to go to San Francisco. My son Matt was living in San Francisco at the time, and they said, "Well, you can still go on this trip and see him because we've pretty much messed up your Thanksgiving, so you can still do that." So I went there, and then I came back, and it was kind of shocking, and it was very shocking to be honest with you. And it was, I just kind of sat back, and honestly, I had a pity party for myself because it really kind of caught me literally off guard. And after, I don't even remember, gosh, it's so long ago now, a couple weeks or a month or so of just like doing nothing. Because I literally had a job every day of my life since I was 13. When I turned 13, I got a paper route, and I worked every day up to that day that they said your services are no longer needed. So I was like a fish out of water. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. So, trying to figure things out. I knew I didn't want to make a rash, snap decision and jump at the first thing. I had a couple offers, but I probably would have had to move to Texas, and I honestly didn't want to do that. Um, in the back of my head, I knew I wanted to own my own business again. My brother and I owned businesses together. My grandparents, when they came over from Italy on both sides, opened businesses. My parents owned businesses. My brother owns businesses. I've owned a business with them. So that was kind of where I was going to go. But I knew I wasn't going to just make a snap decision and jump into something because I'm a planner by nature. so, so I'm like, all right, now what the heck am I going to do until I figure out what I'm going to do in my life? And I honestly don't know how I ever found out about Faith Mission. I knew I liked to cook. I knew I liked to, my brother and I had a little pizzeria in New York. So I knew I liked to cook. My Italian background, people love to cook and eat. So that's important. So out of the blue, I don't know if I called or if I just showed up one day and said, do you guys need any help? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And this was back in the old building. I don't know if anybody remembers the old facility, which was pretty run down and tired. And now they have this brand new facility, but it was in the same vicinity. And I went in and I said, what can you do? I don't know. Tell me what to do. I'll scrub pots or I'll cook or I'll serve or whatever. So I went there pretty much every day. I mean, I didn't have anything else to do. I liked doing it. And to be honest with you, I fell in love with the people behind the counter, the cooks and the people that prepped and all of that. So we got to be friends, and I went there every day, and I cooked and I served and I cleaned and did pretty much whatever they wanted. I actually even drove to, there was a Giant Eagle over in like Hilliard or something. I used to pick up bread and pies and everything on Sundays and then deliver them. Lynn and I actually did that together. So that I just started doing that. So I said, well, this is kind of fun. But what I didn't know, and to be honest with you, I wasn't very active in my faith at that point. So I don't know that, God had put this on my heart or not, but I knew I was liking this. But where I say that it's kind of touched my heart is that, in all honesty, I was kind of that stereotypical guy that saw a guy, begging on a corner and said, go get a job, you bum. You can flip burgers, you can do whatever you need to do, but there's no reason why you should be, not working. And I was that guy. I really, I still even check myself every now and then, that I have to be careful not letting that creep back into my head. Because what I learned is that these men and women, they are just at a stage in their life for whatever reason that they need some help. And that absolutely softened my heart for, people that were down and out. The other thing that I learned is how incredibly grateful they were to get help. And so that was, they were just polite and maybe and more so the guys, to be perfectly honest, more so the guys than the women. Because if you know anything about Faith Mission, at least this is how they used to do it. When everything was ready, they would let families come in first so that husbands and wives can eat together, or if they have kids, they can eat together. They keep the family unit together. But then after that, then they leave. The men come in first, and then they eat, and then they leave, and then the women come in after. Maybe it was the other way around. But it's not meant to be a social event. It's meant to, serve food and eat. And so that's what they did. So the men were always a little bit more grateful or humble, I guess is a better word. And I kind of think it's because guys have trouble with this stuff. Guys have trouble asking for help. We're supposed to be the providers, and we're supposed to, protect and provide and all those male stereotypical kind of things. So they were so sweet and so friendly. So, and like I said, there by the grace of God goes me, I could easily be on the other side of that counter having food served to me. So, like I said, that just really kind of softened my heart for that. And I take that with me all the time. So,
and that went on for about a year?
Yeah, probably close to a year. And then we started looking at job opportunities, and we ended up, Lynn and I opened up the window covering company called Budget Blinds, and we did that for literally 15 years, right to the day. our 15 years, and day of our 15th anniversary, we sold it to somebody else. But they've always stayed close to us. Like, for instance, when we have at St. Luke, we had the picnic in the park for a couple of years. And then what did we just have recently that we had some leftover food?
It was the Aaron McCullough. His
right. His going away party.
Yeah,
that's right.
Party, yeah.
So Lynn and I always volunteered here to bring the leftover food down to Faith Mission to give them whatever leftovers we had, and we never called. I don't follow the rules like that. We didn't call. We just show up with food. I'm like, who's going to say no to food? But it was funny. The last one with Aaron, we literally pulled up. It was like, I don't know, it was late, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we had a lot of food. There was like city barbecue or something. We had a lot of good food left over. And I went, and the doors were locked. And if you know where Faith Mission is, it's not a great part of town. And you kind of go around back, and I was jiggling the door, and I saw some guy in the residence area looking over, and kind of opens the door and is like, "What do you want? What's going on?" I said, "We got some food from Faith Mission." He goes, "Oh, the kitchen's closed right now." I said, "Oh, shoot." I said, "It's just that we've got all this food, and it's city barbecue, you know." And the guy goes, "Hold on a minute. Let me see what I can do." I'm like, okay. So he comes over, and I said, "It's city barbecue. It's all fresh stuff. I don't want it to go to waste. We can come back tomorrow." And he goes, No. Here, let me. He goes, "Are you okay if we, instead of bringing it to the church, we bring it to the people inside right now?" I see, because they haven't eaten yet tonight. I said, "Yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me." He goes, "Oh man." He goes, "Where do you live?" I said, "Gahanna." He says, "By the time you get to Gahanna, all this food will be gone." He goes, "We have like 100 people here, men and women here, that haven't eaten tonight." I'm like, beautiful. I love that stuff. That's the stuff that kind of charges me up.
Absolutely. So before that experience 18 years ago, would you have done something like this? No.
I would have had all the reasons in the world not to. It's 9 o'clock at night. It's dark. It's a rough part of town. Who knows what you're getting into? These people can go work, go get a job. All those stupid, silly stereotypes. And
so that year it changed your perspective on how you see people, how you see those who are begging on the street, for example. And it's changed that in the sense that, you're willing to go down there at 9 o'clock at night. We got some extra food. You guys could maybe use it in that way. Other changes that have come about over those years, over the last 18 years, because of just that 1 year.
Yep.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, I really wasn't, very active in our faith. I grew up Catholic and kind of fell away and didn't really have any, I went to church and kind of quote unquote played church and did all my checkbox kind of things of being, going to church. But, I really wasn't active in my faith. So when I came here, and Lynn's mom, Verna, was the person that was here first, and she kept encouraging us to come. And we were doing the Christmas Easter thing for a few years. And then we're like, yeah, this Steve guy, he seems to be pretty legit. So we got talking with him. And then, so it, again, who knows, one step to another, but here we are at St. Luke, and it's been, 15, 18 years we've been coming to St. Luke, something like that. So,
Wow.
You can say, you always can say just coincidence, or you can say it's the Holy Spirit at work.
Right. Exactly.
I don't question things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this. I heard the phrase by Leo Logothetis. He's a guy, he talks about kindness, and he's all about kind actions and kind things in the world. He had a phrase, he said, "Kindness is healing." And I think about this experience for you that year, especially coming off of being let go suddenly, in that 1 month, like what's going on? And like you said about the especially the men coming to the Faith Mission, like it's an ego thing, like and they're humbled by this. And I'm curious about this. How was this healing for you? This act of kindness on your behalf to serve other people, and what did it do internally for you, especially during that first year? During that year, I should say, as you went through that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was definitely transformative, but I'll tell you, when you're going through it, maybe I wasn't as attuned to what was happening. And now that I had some, months and years and hindsight, in retrospect, I can see how it was happening. To be honest with you, initially I just wanted to work. I wanted to do something. I did not want to sit at home and watch Gunsmoke reruns. I knew that I didn't want to do. So I wanted to do something. So while I was in it, I don't know that I was feeling that transformative, but now, in hindsight, I can absolutely see how, honestly, how the Holy Spirit was at work with what was going on in my life, and that I needed that moment. So getting booted from that job, I mean, for many reasons, was probably one of the best things that's happened to me. When you're in the middle of the storm, you don't really ever see it. But, when you have the vision of hindsight behind you and you can say that job wasn't that great of a job as well as it was paying me and all that. I mean, I wasn't supposed to be there. I had a good life lesson learned, taught to me with Faith Mission, ended up buying, getting my own business, and Lynn and I made a nice living and all of those things. So, you never know when you get hit in the face that something good's going to come out of it, but good things do come out of bad situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a scriptural verse that says in Ecclesiastes, God makes all things beautiful in its time.
That's right.
And I think this is another instance of that where it was a bad situation, and yet out of it came so much beauty, so much transformation, small and sometimes big ways, perception wise, internally, and so on. And you're here today.
Connecting with a church that I've never connected with, being in a Lutheran church, which I never would have expected. I mean, all the things that are, you wouldn't expect. It was pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Pretty blessed.
And one of the things you mentioned about people, I know for me, and when you said that, we drive up to an intersection, we see people asking for money or asking for help. They've got the sign.
Yeah.
And it puts all of us on the spot to make a choice. Or we see people, we're downtown Columbus, we're a different city, we see people asking for help. And you said your perception of that has changed. And if you were to give a word of insight to your younger self that was in that position, that same position that many of us are, what would you say to that younger you?
Before I went
through that?
Stop being a jerk. Really? Stop being a jerk. Yeah, you're being judgmental. You're trying to presume what this person's going through. You're presuming what his abilities are, and you're filling in a whole bunch of blanks that you have no business filling in. So stop prejudging. Someone's in need, feed them. It's funny. I had this conversation with my good friend that we've been friends for 50 plus years, and we're having this email exchange this week back and forth about some political stuff. And anyways, but he's the guy I like to spar with on that level. And he said something, we were talking about something, he says, because we're talking about the border and all the stuff that's going on in the world. And he said that climate change is just wrecks him. It keeps him up at night. He goes, that's something that just keeps him up. And it's worthy. It's real. It's legit. I understand it. It just doesn't, I hate saying this, it doesn't make my radar screen because, and I've been thinking about it, it's because I can't do anything about climate change. Maybe I can do, but I can't really do anything about climate change. But feeding somebody, that I can do. As a matter of fact, we're doing a food drive in our neighborhood next week or a week or so. This is going to be our second one that we've done. And it's so simple. Everybody can do this. I ran out 100 flyers. I'm going to put them on their doors. I'm going to tell them, leave them on your porch or bring them to our house and we'll pick them up. And then you scoop up. Last year we had like 800 cans and boxes of food. I brought them down to Grin and people were fed. To me, that's like something I can do that's immediate. Someone comes into the Faith Mission. They're hungry. You're able to feed them and they go home and rinse and repeat. Just do it over and over. There's nothing to prevent anybody from doing something as simple as that. And like my buddy, he's about climate change. Okay, go do something. But I'm just more of I don't want to say an action guy, but to me, that's like something immediate that I can do right now. And it helps immediate and I can see the results of my work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the need is there. And so we respond to it. So one of the things I think about generosity in particular is like, there's joy in generosity, right? There is a joy, a deeper sense of satisfaction and joy when you go out and get those boxes of food. And we take them down to Grin and so forth. They'll go and serve a meal at Faith Mission or so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're bringing our grandkids around when we pick up the food to hopefully teach them, and they're getting old enough that they can understand that not every kid goes to bed full. A lot of kids go to bed hungry here in affluent little Gahanna and Central Ohio. There's kids that still go to bed hungry, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. This is a great conversation. I hope everybody's enjoyed it, and encouragement to anybody who's listening just to do something in these small ways and contribute to the world around us in kind and generous ways. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. Thanks.